This is Detroit's Morning Answer with John Anthony on FM 92.7 and AM 1400. The Answer.
Good morning, Detroit. Detroit's Morning Answer with John Anthony. If you missed that first hour, head over to theanswerdetroit.com. That's theanswerdetroit.com. I almost wanted to do it, Martin. What's up? What's up? What's up? I really wanted to do that. I've always wanted to do that on this show because, you know, Martin from the show, Martin Lawrence from the show, Martin, the show was based out of Detroit. I've always wanted to do that. But, you know, this next interview I think is going to be important because even though it's about California, in my opinion, I think it's about what's happening across our country. You look at what's happening in New York with Mandami. You look at what's happening in Minnesota with Omar Fatah. You have these crazed individuals who people are pushing up on a pedestal to become leaders of states, of cities. And I just think it's important that we start looking and exposing this stuff. And I know our next guest, but before I bring her on, because I followed her and I know just how, and I don't mean this disrespectfully, but she got that dog in her. I mean, when I tell you she's somebody that will, once she locks on, she's going to bring out the truth, and that's what I love about this next guest. That's why I'm so happy we got her on here. But I want to play, and I want you to understand who Katie Porter, Congresswoman Katie Porter, is. I'm going to play some short clips about what has transpired with her and as she's running for governor of California.
What do you say to the 40% of California voters who you'll need in order to win, who voted for Trump?
How would I need them in order to win, ma'am?
Well, unless you think you're going to get 60% of the vote. So you don't think
I feel like this is unnecessarily argumentative. What is your question?
Well, to those voters. Okay, so you...
I don't want to keep doing this. I'm going to call it. Okay. Thank you.
You're not going to do the interview with us?
Nope, not like this. I'm not. Not with 7 follow-ups to every single question you ask.
A California gubernatorial...
Okay. Now, here she is screaming and yelling at one of... I don't know if it was an intern or a staffer.
If we don't electrify our transportation sector, that we're going to lose more than 500,000 Californians dying prematurely to air pollution and other problems, and the state could lose... Get out of my shot.
I wanted to tell you that that's actually incorrect. It's not that it's electric vehicles. It's that if we don't make the commitments under the Paris Climate Accord.
Okay, it does. Okay, you also were in my shot before that. Stay out of my shot. Okay, I'm going to start.
Now, I was an elected official. I could never bring myself to treat people the way she did. You know, we've all seen the video. You know, you heard her storming out of the interview, yelling at the intern, and she bristles at questions she can't answer. But to me, what's more revealing is not the tantrum itself, it's the reaction to it. We're watching a pattern repeat itself across America. Voters keep elevating personalities who seem emotional, volatile, self-righteous, and incapable of accountability. Now, Corinne, you've covered crises on the ground, often where chaos exposes character. So I want to dig into what this says about where we are as a country, politically, psychologically, and spiritually. Corinne, welcome to Detroit's Morning Answer. Corinne Cliford, I'm sorry.
Thank you so much. Yes, my name is Corinne Cliford. I'm an independent journalist in Washington, D.C. I am from Los Angeles, so I spent my whole life in California, and I am not worried about Katie Porter at all. She doesn't have a chance of winning, but I think she's entertaining, and I think that it's fun to watch what she does. But there are some really qualified people running for governor of California, and she's not one of them. And I think she's just getting her 15 minutes of fame right now. She won't last.
Yeah, but Corinne, when you look across the nation, you see cities collapsing under bad policy. You see leaders losing composure on camera. But voters do reward this. What's happening in the American psyche that causes people to keep electing what I call emotional performers instead of competent leaders? And California has done that for years.
Yes. Well, yesterday Nancy Pelosi snapped on my girlfriend Allison on the steps of the U.S. Capitol and called her, names. So what's going on is that we have had a major crisis in our elections where there's been a lot of very simple, nothing complex, very simple election corruption. And so when this gets exposed in the different areas, we won't be able to elect these mentally ill Democrats anymore. And so they're selected, they're not elected.
Yeah.
And in the areas where the Democrats really reign supreme in the Democratic cities are falling apart because the money for the homeless, the money for the mentally ill, the money that needs to get, to Americans goes to migrants. It goes to the pockets of these very corrupt Democrats' friends who get them into power. So, this all just needs to be cleaned up, and it's really every person's responsibility to make sure that their town, their city, their county, that they don't have these mentally ill Democrats controlling what's going on. And so we all really need to work together to make sure that dead people don't vote, to make sure that our elections are fair.
Yeah, well, here's that clip of Nancy Pelosi. I didn't know this was your friend, but here's that clip of Nancy.
Yeah.
Congresswoman Pelosi, are you at all concerned that the new January 6th committee will find you liable for that day? Are you at all concerned about the new January 6th committee finding you liable for that day? Why did you refuse the National Guard on January 6th?
Shut up.
Ooh.
I did not refuse the National Guard. The president didn't send it. Why are you coming here with Republican talking points as if you're a serious journalist?
The American people want to know. We still have questions. Thank you.
I love her spunk. But Corinne, when you look at it, though, this is why I personally believe when you look at the continuing resolution, this is why they're trying to put a lot of that money in, because they know that when you look at how they've been able to fundraise, I guarantee you it's going to come out. These NGOs, the money that we've sent across the world has found its way back to a lot of these elected officials, and they know that well has dried up. Do you think there's a connection? And that's one of the reasons why they're trying to put $1.5 trillion into the CR, because they know the wells that they weren't used to dip in are no longer there.
Yes, of course, because people like Katie Porter go into Congress with no money, and then they come out, being worth millions of dollars, and we don't know where they're getting that money from. So hopefully the new money on insider trading, I have confronted her many times. She's never snapped on me the way she snapped on my girlfriend Allison yesterday. So I was so proud of Allison. She had an incredible cameraman with her that really caught it.
Yes.
I have confronted so many senators.
I know.
People like Bernie Sanders, so many corrupt.
Yeah.
I've confronted Schumer. I've confronted everyone, and they snap on you, and their bodyguards push you, and they treat you like you are just a piece of trash on the street. We have the press passes, and so we're allowed to ask First Amendment free speech questions. We stand up for free speech. These Democrats in the Senate, many times, and the Democrats in the House, you would just be shocked that they're even in Washington, D.C. Senator Fetterman can barely speak English.
Yep.
He has to have a bodyguard with him who, keeps track of all of the questions that he gets asked. And he just said to me straight out, I can't answer that question. I'm like, why can't you answer that question? His bodyguard wouldn't let him. His gatekeeper wouldn't let him. So you'd be shocked if you actually interacted with the people who are the Democrats, who are the powerhouses of the Democrat Party in Senate, in the House of Representatives. And they're the reason that we're on our 16th day of a federal government shutdown.
Yeah.
Our own U.S. troops are not getting paid. President Trump has a billionaire who will pay them today if we can't afford to pay them. But it's just a mess. And I think that it's becoming really clear to the American public what's going on.
But Corinne Clifford, no kings, though. I thought the left, the Democrats, were the party of First Amendment rights, free speech, but they're continuing to push this no kings on President Trump. I don't know if you listened to the first half of the show, but I broke that down in a way to show it's not President Trump. President Trump has every single court that has blocked him. He has not usurped them. He's not pushed them to the side like Biden and his administration did. But no kings. No kings is more important than that narrative, though, right?
Yes, and on Saturday, they're all coming to Washington, D.C. to protest. So, of course, the government is going to be shut down till at least after Saturday because they want to make this big impact in D.C. and around America and have the No Kings protest, which is so ridiculous because the No Kings protest is funded. And a funded protest is not organic. Oh. And who's funding it? Major corporations and potentially people who are not in the United States of America. And that's very dangerous for our national security. So I'm really tired of paid protesters. Yeah. And the No Kings protest, obviously, is a complete joke. So I will be, on the front line of that protest reporting about it. But President Trump is the most transparent president we have ever had. I'm in the White House every day. I'm a member of the White House press corps. And I just really care about people. And I want people to be safe in every emergency. And I want to make sure that you and everyone listening has a satellite phone from sat123.com. That's SAT123.com. And my satellite phone got me through the whole entire emergency that lasted almost 5 days.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, we had no cell service for almost 5 days, no internet.
Wow.
And the only way to communicate was the satellite phone.
Now, Corinne Clifford, you said you're part of the White House press corps. Now, you've seen firsthand how the media narratives are shaped. Why do you think the same media that would destroy a conservative for some of the behaviors we see? I mean, everything you just said about Schumer and Fetterman and Katie Porter. I mean, you see how the media shapes in as it relates to the conservatives, but as it relates to the Democrats, there's always a softer posture towards them, and the message of hate that they espouse never gets out. How do we, as someone who pushes against this, how can we change the narratives that are shaped by the media?
Well, I think that people who are considered to be Democrats really need to start widening their perspective and understanding that this crazy notion that, Republicans like myself are racist or Republicans like myself don't care about poor people. I'm poor. Yeah. And so, of course, they care about poor people. And I think that, the propaganda that is being spewed against President Trump is just embarrassing. And so that's why I work every single day to really counteract the mainstream news narrative, the narrative against President Trump. President Trump is the people's president. Obviously, he does care about our U.S. troops way more than these Democrats in Congress. Nancy Pelosi has said nothing about how she's going to make sure that our U.S. troops have money for their families when the government is shut down and they're not getting paid. And people really need to see that it's the Democrats like Nancy Pelosi, Fetterman, Schumer, all these people. It's Schumer's shutdown. Yeah. Hakeem Jeffries, they're really out there for their own self-interest. They are not out there for the best of the people in the United States of America. And that's why I fight every day the fake news narrative. And that's why I'm doing your show right now. It's so important that the people listening understand that, I am an independent journalist. No one censors me, and I'm on the front line, and I know what's really going on. And this is the Schumer shutdown.
Wow. You have stuff like Sat123, and there are other independent communication platforms that are gaining some attention. Do you see a future where journalists they must rely on this decentralized tech just to stay free?
Of course, because the thing is that I just got banned on Instagram. I got disappeared on Instagram about 5 days ago, and I had gotten 1.6 million views. I was exposing an Antifa encampment that I think is funded by the Chinese Communist Party. It was in front of the Union Station in Washington, D.C. since May 1st, and I think that we do have to be decentralized. And I think that we have to use, satellite phones, and we have to use, portable internet from Starlink. I think it is so important to go to sat123.com and make sure you have a bulletproof backpack. Shots could be fired at any time. I just went to the ceremony for Charlie Kirk. President Trump gave him posthumously. He's passed away. Obviously, he's deceased.
Yeah.
President Trump gave him the Presidential Medal of Freedom to his widow, Erica Kirk, yesterday. It was a beautiful ceremony, and anything can happen. So you have to protect yourself and the people that you care about with products from sat123.com.
You're there with my good friend Gary Franchi from Next News Network and Tom McCullough. I mean, knowing that there are people like you and Gary and Tom being at the White House, I mean, it's so comforting. Now, here's the final question. You've become known.
I love Gary,
Yes. You've become known for being fearless, not just in these dangerous locations, but in telling uncomfortable truths. What does real courage look like in journalism today, outside of you, Gary, and Tom?
I mean, Allison did it yesterday with Nancy Pelosi. I have a couple different people that I can say their names. There are very good independent journalists. There's about 12 at the White House. And so basically we just have to constantly work to get the truth to the public when it's uncomfortable. I had some very uncomfortable news. I was being told that, biological women were being sexually abused by biological men who identify as women in jails and prisons across America.
Yep.
And I gave that story to Charlie Kirk, and he really helped me with it, but rebanned and censored. And so that's why I have to make sure that I work for myself and that I'm independent. So I'm grateful that President Trump believes in the Second Amendment. And believe me, Allison, my girlfriend who confronted Nancy Pelosi yesterday, could be risking for her press license to be in Senate by asking such serious questions, because senators really can do whatever they want. Another one of my friends, Charles, who works for Laura Loomer, got attacked by Jasmine Crockett a couple months ago, and Jasmine never got in trouble for it.
Wow.
And Congress people are a protected status in D.C. where they can basically grab you and push you around and not get in trouble. So this gets very interesting to see what the backlash is. If you lose your press credentials when you ask real questions to the members of Congress, President Trump, of course, is not like that.
Yeah.
You can ask President Trump any question and he'll answer it.
Yep. And even what's the young lady from Oregon who says she was suffering from Trump derangement syndrome? I forget her name, but I followed her. I've shared one of her posts. I think it got like 12 million views of a post that I shared of hers during the Summer of Love, the George Floyd riots. And now to hear her say that she's recovered from Trump derangement syndrome, I mean, that's a relief. Corinne Cliford, where can people follow you? Because I followed you on Instagram and you're no longer there.
Exactly. My account got disappeared about 5 days ago. So I've hired a lawyer. I may have to sue Mark Zuckerberg because he lied to President Trump about the fact that he wouldn't censor conservative voices. So find me if you can. Right now, I'm not on Instagram, but find me on X at Corinne Clifford. And it's so funny because I just noticed there's a fake account of me on X. So my last name only has one F. So it's Corinne Clifford. So I'm so grateful that you put me on your show because I really am banned and censored, and that shouldn't be happening at this time in history. I'm just reporting real news, boots on the ground, heels on the ground, every single day in a new and different way across America. But I'm based in Washington, D.C. I did grow up in California. I'm not worried that Katie Porter can win.
Yeah.
I really think we're going to have better options.
Corinne, I definitely, I'm going to give you a call. I want you to come on my Saturday show. I have a Saturday cultural show called Black and White Radio. Now, that show is in all 50 states, 64 countries of people who have listened into that show. I would love to bring you on that show as well.
Yes, of course. Call me anytime. I'm so grateful to be on today.
All right. Corinne Clifford. She's an independent journalist, White House press corps staff, and official spokesperson for sat123.com. Thanks so much for joining us today on Detroit's Morning Answer.
God bless you.
All right. And make sure you tell Gary you've been on my show.
I know. That's great. I will.
All right.
God
Thank
bless
you so
you.
much.
Have a beautiful day.
All right.
Thank
you as well.
Peace.
That's Corinne Clifford. You're listening to Detroit's Morning Answer, guys. We'll be right back.